Hello, my friends. Welcome to Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I'm your host, Coach Shay Marville. In this space, we dive into transformative conversations that hopefully inspire you to grow, heal, and have a deeper connection to yourself and to the world around you. So, let's talk, let's connect, let's grow together. Yes, okay. Natalie Haynes is in the pod today, psychotherapist, woman of the world who believes in the power of human connection and relationship. Welcome to Let's Talk, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
Tell me this, why is therapy so important right now? Why is the work why is the work that you are doing right now? Why is it so important right now? 2024.
This work is about how to be with the natural human emotions, our natural human emotions that come up in a different way than what is currently happening in the world. Like there is a lot of reactivity.
Yes.
And a lot of almost like you feel something, you do something, right? And without knowing what am I actually reacting to, what am I actually responding to?
So how do you, that's so interesting. So how do you not be reactionary? Like how do you coach that into your clients, or what do you share with them about how to be with something and not just react immediately?
I get people to be curious about themselves. Like in therapy, a lot of times, and I don't know, people come to therapy thinking that I'm, because I'm the therapist, I'm the one that, I know. I'm going to tell them what to do or not to do, or, if some right or wrong way of being. It's still clicking, eh? Like it's still stopping the internet.
Oh, really?
You freeze a little. You're freezing. I don't know if that's.
Oh, I'm not seeing it on my side.
You're not? Okay.
No.
Okay. So I'll start again. So in this work, what's so important about it is that I'm not telling people how to be. Gestalt therapy is about experiencing your own self with someone else. And I can go into more details, but when it comes to why this work is important, it's about learning how to get curious about what am I experiencing.
Yes.
And I do that by getting people to slow down and notice, what are you experiencing when you're having this conversation with me?
Yes.
What are you experiencing in your body when you think of this memory?
Wait. So, okay, what are you experiencing in your body? So, like, is your heart rate going up? Are you feeling like, is your stomach queasy or like that sort of thing?
Yes. Are you feeling tension? Because our brains aren't attached to the outside world. So, when we talk about fight or flight, if you see a bear running at you or you imagine a bear running at you, your body is going to respond to that.
Yes.
So when we have a memory or we see something in the present that reminds us of something of the past, we will have a response to it. And by having people stop and slow down and notice, what is this tension saying to me? What's my queasiness saying to me? What is of the past that might be showing up right now?
Interesting. Right? So, okay. So, I don't know if you know this. For the last year, I've been doing a lot of work about women and women in midlife. And, as a meditation teacher, yoga teacher for years, I have worked with women who are over the age of 40 and 50 and thought that I was helping them. And I think I did. But it wasn't until I got over the age of 50 and started to go through perimenopause that I started to realize that there are all these like really profound things that are happening, that a lot of the programs or the way that some of us are taught to train people in yoga and
Mm-hmm.
meditation are not necessarily helpful. I know I'm saying it, to women who are going through perimenopause and menopause.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me this, if you are looking after, caring for, working with women who are in perimenopause, which can start somewhere from 37 and on, can go for 10
Mm-hmm.
years before menopause, how do you help them deal with this embodied process and the idea of looking at your memories and thinking about how they feel in your body? Does the question make sense?
Meaning, like, well, I mean, I can answer for my own, like, I've gone through menopause, so I hit a little bit early. And, what I've come to know is that as women, it's very typical for us to just go, 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 go. We got lots of different, we're multitaskers.
Yes.
And what I've noticed when it comes to menopause is because it's like a shaking up of your foundation. Like you just don't feel like you anymore.
Yes, yes.
And it's almost like your body's saying, like, slow down, notice what's happening in here, and see what I'm trying to say to you. Like our bodies are it's a wealth of information. So, one of the things that I've come to learn for me is that I always think I can do way more than I can do. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, yes, that's exciting. Yes, let's do that. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh yeah, my plate's only this big and all these things are just falling off of it.
Yeah.
And then I beat myself up because I'm forgetting this thing and I'm not remembering that thing. And, however, my body is telling me I'm trying to slow you down because this is what we can handle. And this is what the best thing is for you. Like, so for me, I've had this journey of like burnout.
Yes.
And then burnout. And
yes. Me too.
And
me
what
too.
I've come. Yeah.
Even as a meditation teacher, like, and that makes it worse because I should know better, but I've learned that I had internalized a lot of things around, taking on too much. And recently I wrote an article about this, about being addicted to being overwhelmed. And so I think one of the beautiful invitations in perimenopause is that it has been like to confront that and to kind of unpack, why are you doing that? And to start taking things out. So rather than adding things into my day, I'm continually taking things out because I know I have a tendency to take on more than I am able to actually look after.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a felt sense that comes with all of that. Like there's a felt sense that comes with knowing that it's too much. It's like I have a sensation where I feel like it might feel like a push. Like I'm like, oh, I'm pushing myself here. Or check inside, do I really want to do that? And if the answer is no, knowing what your relationship is to that, whatever that is, saying no as an example, that's going to bring up some stuff. That's where your past might show up in the present.
Yes. Interesting.
So if we have to get curious about ourselves. Now, if we've been working at, doing just busy, we're probably not really noticing ourselves.
But even if
the
you're
wisdom's in our
noticing,
body.
if you're noticing, like, how do you stop? How do you I know what I did, but what, like, are there some tools that you think we need to adopt to actually change the behavior, or to observe the behavior rather than change it?
Well, so this is here's a little exercise that I do.
Oh.
Almost a psychosomatic exercise or experiment, we call it in Gestalt, because I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to see.
I'm here.
So
I'm
this
here for
is,
it. I'm here for it.
yes.
Okay.
So this is from a lot of the work I've done with Rowella Frank, who's this Gestalt somatic psychotherapy teacher.
Mm-hmm.
So just take a moment and just feel your feet on the ground. Now
Yes.
she'll say, now you can keep your eyes open because it keeps you here in the present.
Okay.
Okay. You don't have to look at me, but just keep your eyes.
Okay,
So just,
divorcing myself from being the teacher, and now I'm the student. Thank you for this opportunity. Okay,
okay. Okay.
eyes open.
So yeah, you don't just look wherever you can look in your room, wherever even your listeners. So just feel your feet on the ground. Okay.
Yes,
And notice where your feet and the ground meet.
yes,
So just bring your attention to the sensation of that. Okay. And notice what it's like, what you feel like sitting on your chair.
mm-hmm.
And just do a little scan up in your body. You can move up and just notice, like what do your knees feel like? If you bring your attention to your knees, you have a sensation of them.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
If you bring your attention to your stomach, there's a sensation that's there.
mm-hmm.
You could describe it almost like what that movement is like.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And then my knees feel different than my thighs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
So it's like a body scan.
Well, this is just one thing I'm doing right now. It depends on
Yes.
the moment. It
Sorry,
depends on the person.
sorry, student. Sorry. Go.
Okay. Now just see what you're experiencing in your body,
Yes.
just even as we're having this conversation. Like, what's the experience of talking to me right now? I'm having an experience as I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
I feel like a little bit of like excitement that I would say is like a bit of a movement.
Yes. I feel grounded.
Um,
I feel very grounded talking to you, and
mhm.
I feel like I can be really open with you.
Yeah, same with me.
Yeah,
There's
and I
a
feel very
there's
open in myself right now. Like I feel
yeah
very, I'm not afraid, you know?
yeah. So now just to see the comparison, I want you to think of a memory where you had conflict with someone.
Just one. Just kidding. Just kidding. Uh, a memory.
Pick as many as you want.
Yes.
Yeah, just pick one. Actually, just pick one. Pick
Yes.
them.
Okay.
Okay. And now just run through that memory in your mind.
Yeah.
And notice what happens to your body.
Mhm. So interesting.
What do you notice?
So right below my knee on my left side, I I'm moving it around because it's tense. Like it feels like there's a knot there. Isn't that
Mm.
interesting?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah. So we are so connected.
yes.
Our bodies are responding, and they are telling us something.
Mm,
So there's something about like whatever we are experiencing in the moment. We may have like um, we might experience like, let's say we have to say no to someone, and
yes.
all of a sudden, without us even realizing, it's like we feel tension, we feel tight, we feel, and maybe it's because we have so many memories or so many experiences where we've said no and someone got upset with us.
Yes.
You
Right.
know?
So we're uncomfortable with the person being upset, and so then when we get to midlife where maybe you can't say yes to everything, you have to learn how to say no from a place of truthfulness in yourself, like to set
Yes,
boundaries, right? And to
yes.
know how that feels, not just intellectually, but in your actual body, like what it's doing to you, is what you're saying.
Well, yes, and think of this. What a beautiful opportunity to finish what was unfinished. To relearn what if I was taught that I wasn't allowed to say no?
Yes.
So I've been saying yes my whole life. Now I have an opportunity, because my body physically won't go anymore, but now I have an opportunity to come into contact with what made me say yes all the time in the first place.
Ooh.
That's why it's so
Okay.
important, because we are running around, I would say, as a society in the world,
Yeah.
on a lot of unfinished business because emotions are difficult to feel.
Yes.
You
And
know,
especially if you have been taught to manage your emotions rather than feel them. And then you spend your life sort of managing it until you get to a point where you don't even really know, like, how do I feel about something, because you've never been able to feel the whole thing.
absolutely. Like I will literally have people where I'll say, like, how do I don't always say, how do you feel? And like, what are you experiencing? Some people are like, I hate when you ask that question. I'm like, because they've been just running here
Yes.
cognitively.
Yes. Yes.
But your body is telling you so much. So even if it's just noticing the physical sensation rather than I feel sad, it's kind of limiting, you know.
Yes. Yes.
But
Yes.
sadness might be it's a physical response,
Yeah.
you know.
I've got a
Mm-hmm.
very hard question for you.
Okay.
And we can talk about why I'm going to ask you this question. But, you know, there's all this politics right now and, so much polarization. But if Kamala Harris was your patient, your client, would you say, do you say clients?
Client.
Client. How would you counsel her to deal with the sort of this intrusion into, like, who is she and, like, what's her race and all these
Mm-hmm.
things? Like, I'm politics aside, I'm so curious about how people are so obsessed with her background and whether she's black or whether she's Indian or whether she, like, it's so fascinating. And
Yeah.
I think, of course, my bias is that, I'm my family is from the Caribbean, like your family,
Mm-hmm.
and her mixture is normal in our culture, but
Mm-hmm.
in North America, it's not. Like, so how would you, like, not that there's ever been a suggestion that she needs help, but I'm just asking, what would you say to her? How would you help her?
Oh, I think, if she was asking,
Yes.
I would. So, so interesting. So, our racial identity is something that develops over time and is also an aspect of ourself that we haven't explored fully, I believe,
What
because
do you
there is
mean
a
by
lot of,
that? What do you mean by, because the society puts you, like, has a social construct that you fit into, and
yeah,
then and you're suggesting that that is something that you have to explore and understand.
exactly.
Okay.
Like if you think about who you are as a woman, or how would you describe yourself in relation to being from the Caribbean or of the Caribbean,
Yes,
you know,
yes, yes.
and like we have thoughts, feelings, beliefs, things that have happened to us, memories that shape how we show up in the present moment. So how I would, what I would talk to, I imagine I would love to talk to her about this. I would love to talk to her about
Me
this
too. Me too.
because, yeah, because her Black identity, she's Jamaican,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Is she has a relationship to that aspect of herself,
Yes.
So for me, so as an example, I always ask this question in this program that I teach: when did you first know that you were the race that you are?
Mm.
When did you first come into contact with race?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we don't talk about this, not in mixed company.
No, we
So
don't.
I would be so curious to know, what is, like, when did she first learn that she was Black? Or did she first learn that she was Indian? Like, what was first? When did her skin color take on meaning?
I heard her say that her mother even though her mother was Indian, she raised her and her sister to be Black women because of the context of the society
Smart.
in which she was living.
Yes.
And that makes sense to me because I think that's about a kind of protective framework so that you don't walk around saying, to people who might say, I see you as Black, but you're saying I'm something other. And like, it's kind of about putting some cushions around you.
Absolutely. And that's because of the different identities and what she looks like. So we have our psychological connection to our skin, but we also have the social construct.
Yes.
So because of the social construct, we need to look at what meaning did I make about my skin color?
Yes.
So for her, the meaning that was created was that she should be proud of her skin color.
Yeah.
That would be my question. I'd want to know, like, what did your mom say? How did she have those stories with you? Like, what were the stories that, that came out of her protecting you in this way or raising you in this way? How did you connect with your Indian heritage? Like, she has feelings and beliefs and experiences that she's had in relation to that aspect of herself that make her who she is.
Yeah. And it's very nuanced, and it's hard to have
Very.
that type of nuanced conversation in a society that is just like sound bites, right? Like right now, this is part of why I think we suffer emotionally because we can't actually be like the things that you're talking about, being curious and feeling how you feel in your body and being aware of yourself so that you can also be aware of others. Like that, like our society is not really into that right now, although we are. So, and we're society, so hopefully
there's
impact.
People.
Yes.
Yeah.
Part of why I asked you that kind of cheeky question, though, is because I know you do so much work around race, or in your work is in relationship to race.
Yes.
Why did you make that choice?
To do this program?
To do this work, like to have that as a pillar of or foundation of what you do.
When George Floyd was murdered in 2020, I witnessed online the number of conversations where people were just missing each other. That it was, you could see, and we still see and feel the divisiveness.
Yes.
Right? And it's because we had to come into contact, with, wow, this is a thing we don't talk about. And now we need to talk about it. But all of those, all of the emotions that have never, our histories around race either has not been explored at all, or we've lived it. And we have trauma and pain and all kinds of things in relation to not being seen and not being heard. So what I noticed was that people were not being able to have this conversation. And then I started to talk to people, and people said, I really want to have this conversation, but I'm afraid to. And I was afraid to. I was always afraid to talk about race until I explored my racial identity.
Oh, but so until you felt comfortable in your own voice, you did not want to address race in the work that you were doing.
No, I grew up not wanting to be Black. I grew up never wanting to talk about race.
Oh, what? So where did you grow up?
Toronto.
Okay. And your family, where's your family from?
Jamaica.
Family's from Jamaica. And in the family, you didn't talk about race, or is it a different context, Jamaican culture, Toronto culture?
Can I tell you a little story?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was 7 years old. I was having a birthday party.
Yes.
And I said to my mother, is so-and-so coming to my birthday party? I remember I was standing by the window, I was looking outside, and she was standing beside me, and she said, no, she's probably not coming because we're Black. Like, you're Black. And I was like, I'm Black?
Mm.
So the reason she said that was protective. This is how the
Yes.
world might see you, you
Yeah.
know? And she was a very proud, we called her the Dragon Lady. Like, she was a very proud woman, right?
Wow.
So, but in my little mind, what
Yes.
happened was my skin that
Yeah.
was unconscious all of a sudden became conscious, and
Yes.
a meaning was associated to it.
Yeah. A negative meaning.
Yes, that meant this means that will be, I won't be liked.
Mm.
And, but I didn't know that I created that. And so
No.
I went along in my life, and just feeling just the sensation of not wanting to be in my skin.
Mm-hmm.
And because that belief was further reinforced through what I saw in the media, what happened at school, like, things like
Mm-hmm.
that. And, the conversations I'd have with my mother, and in terms of, like, the world might not see you, you got to work harder, you got to, you know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I don't want to be this. This is awful.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Why people might not like me? I don't want to be this. Whereas my sister had a very different relationship from the start. So it's just interesting.
And
So
you and your sister are very close.
I have two sisters, and
Okay.
we're very close. Yeah,
And
two younger sisters.
yes, okay. I've only seen you with one sister. That's right.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So, so tell me this. So why did your other sister have such a different experience or different process, do you think? Or perception? Perception is the right word.
We went to different schools. She had different people around her. Like,
Yeah.
she had more Black people around her. I would say, like, I went to a school that, I mean, I was one of just a few Black kids in my school. You actually know who was my principal? Jean Augustine.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, she was my
Wow.
principal for a while. So it was like, wow,
Wow.
we've got this. Yeah. So she had a very different relationship. And I know it's because of, I don't know, maybe she just didn't have that experience.
So she did
Maybe
she didn't have it she had a positive experience
she had a
around
positive experience.
her racial identity. So you sort of grew up with different perspectives. And
Yep.
did your parents have different perspectives on race, or was it more about we're Jamaican and now we're Canadian, we're Jamaican Canadians?
I think that they were, Susan, we're Jamaican, and now we're living in Canada where people may not see you because.
Of race.
More of my mother, because she was very protective. My dad is very fair. Like, he looks like he's Italian or Greek or something like that.
Yes.
So it wasn't as, Jamaicans look very different. Like, you can
Yes,
have
yes.
Jamaicans that look white, Jamaicans that look Black. So in Jamaica, they had a very different racial identity. It was like, you're not really different,
See,
you know?
like, again, that's the nuance, and I think to
Exactly.
navigating race in North America, and it's it's not simply black and white in the Caribbean. My grandfather's older brother went to the United States in the 30s, and my grandfather was a mixed person. His dad was European and his mom was black, and they had 7 children. And every child looked different, and
Yes.
so
Yes.
his older brother looked almost identical to his father, and went to America and discovered that everyone thought he was white,
Yeah.
and so actually made a decision to pass.
Hmm.
And he actually isolated himself from the rest of the family, because once he realized that he could pass, and once he started to create a life in the US, he also realized how dangerous it would be if he actually told the truth about who
Right.
he was. And it was devastating for the family, but I discovered many years later that he everyone got together, or I had an aunt who connected back with him at a bus terminal. They agreed to meet. And he told her at that point why he did what he did. But he also said that we could never meet again because it will not be
Wow.
safe for the rest of my family who did not know. And she one of the things, she was very funny. And one of Aunt Verna, one of the things she said, well, they won't know until one of those kids comes out with
Yeah.
here. So, anyways, I think it's something that a lot of people of mixed descent and Caribbean descent, and they experience this nuance in North America that is very hard to explain. It's just lived.
It's true. My daughter came home yesterday and said that, so both of my children are very fair. So they look white. They could pass, you know. And she came home and she said, I went to the black, it's like a safe space for black kids at her high school,
Yes.
right? And so her friends have been saying, you should come.
Yeah.
And she's like, but I haven't gone. So I went, when I got up, she's like, I said, so what made you go? It's like, why haven't you gone? And she looks at me and she's like, what if they don't think I'm black? And she said, I found a picture of you, Mom, so I could go. And then my son said the same thing. He's like, yeah, his friends at school don't think he's black. So he's like, I had to show them a picture of you.
Oh my
To
gosh.
prove that they were black.
So bizarre, right?
Yeah.
So like, and I think like when you think about that in the context of what is the feeling that you feel when you are told what you are? What is the feeling that says this is true or this isn't true or these things are both true?
It is unique to every individual.
So interesting.
That's why it's personal. It's a story. It's exploring your own story so that you can become aware of the feelings and sensations that come up as you think of these old memories.
Yes.
And say, wait a second, this tension that I've had that stopped me from having a conversation about race or has to do with the part of me that disowned my blackness.
Yes.
Because of the belief that got created.
Yes, yes. And your own perception and relationship to that belief in that moment.
Right. So once I'm aware of it,
yes,
then I can say, then I had the opportunity to say, wait a second. People don't not like me or like me because I'm black. This is what it means to be black for me. So I started to look, as I did this work, it was years ago, as I did this, my own journey, I looked for examples of black women and examples of blackness in the world. And I was like, okay, wait a sec. I can choose now what it means for me to be black. My children are going to choose what it means for them to be black, to be mixed, of mixed race, have the skin color and feel black. Feel whatever that identity is in relation to the mixture of races that they have. So they're going to have to explore that as well. But we talk about it, So
yes, I think that's the
different.
only way is to talk about it and because there's the story the world tells you or worlds, and then there's a story that you develop about yourself, right? And
that's right.
Like in the work that you're doing, how important is your story? How important is like retelling or remaking or creating a story?
It's everything. I mean, see, in the world, when we talk about race and we do DEI, and I'm not, slagging anyone, it's almost like a cognitive approach.
Yes.
Say this, say that, don't say this, don't say that. And so in my work, people are still walking around very frozen. What if I say the right thing? What if I say the wrong thing? What if the person says the wrong thing to me? So it's like working at just trying to say the right thing so that you can be connected to the person that's in front of you.
Yes.
However, when it's flipped and we are experientially looking at our own relationship, I'm going to have a relationship to race. You are going to have a relationship to race and your identity
Yeah.
and how it's developed that is completely different and so interesting. Oh,
Yes.
my husband, I said, when did you first know that you were white? And he's like, I didn't. He goes, but I did know that I was freckled because some man came up to him and said, did you get caught behind a screen door in the sun?
Wow.
And he hated his freckles ever since.
So, wow. So, do you think that in terms of race, I mean, there's so many things here. You're going to have to come back. We're gonna have to have like
Gladly.
we're gonna because we have so many things to talk about. But do you think in terms of race, that is something that you have to figure out how to unpack early, and how to like not just say I'm this or that, but I know how to identify with who I am, and I am my race, I'm my gender, I'm my sexuality, I'm my age, I'm my like all these things.
But
Yes.
I would say that it's worth exploring this aspect of yourself because our skin is our biggest organ.
Mm,
And the social construct of race cannot be ignored.
right.
So we need to know what is the psychological connection I have made about this part of me.
Yes. Yes.
We've had a lot, and that's for every race.
Yes, I was going to say, I mean, I think one of the challenges I see around the work that we all do in diversity is that it's often about the people of color or who have been marginalized that are having to explore their race or their racial identity or talk about their experiences. And I think that everyone should talk about or address, you know, even
Mm-hmm.
if they think I don't have an experience of race, you may not realize that you actually do. And it's not thinking that you have an experience that actually may be your story, right? Within this context, this society in which we
Mm-hmm.
live. And I have lots of African family members and friends, from the continent of Africa um, who don't
Yeah.
have a concept of blackness
Yeah.
because they identify with an ethnicity,
Yeah.
or their nation or their language, and so in the North American context, blackness means something very different,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I have lots of family members or and friends, of European descent. My husband. and and his experience of race is important, and something that we always talked about because we also have 4 children together, and
Yeah.
so it's important for them to have multiple perspectives on what how to navigate that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because for us we have our multiple identities,
Hmm.
where we're from, our gender, you know, our ethnicity, the community school, all of those things make up who we are individually,
Yes.
individually. And so understanding this part of me and knowing what that is really important because I can embody who I am.
Mm.
It's as important as it is for me. So I define what blackness means for me. And, someone who is white, they define what white means for them. So they can embody their skin.
Yes.
And every single person has, my son looks white. I said, somebody said to me, why are you doing this? I said, because I don't want someone to look at him and say, because you're white, you're racist,
Yes. Yes.
you know?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And also, you want him
Or
to be
because you're black, you're less than, right?
right,
Like,
or you want him to also be able to speak to it wherever he goes in
yes,
his life, so that he
absolutely.
feels like an empowered person. Listen,
Yes.
we have so many things to talk about. You have to come back on the
I
show.
definitely will come back
I
on.
don't want to just talk about race and gender. I want to actually talk to you about love. I
Yeah.
want to talk to you about empathy and compassion and how those pieces are critical to who we become as a human being as well. So,
Oh, and I think that's the piece about why I'm doing what I'm doing when it comes to this, teaching people how to have conversations about race. It's about compassion. It's
mm,
about love. It's about finding and co-creating, like using the common language of our bodies and how
mm,
we operate psychologically to say, how do I process, how do I be with this part of myself that's been so divisive and loaded and whatever.
yes,
But, if I come at it from that perspective, we're the same when it comes, our human, how we respond as humans emotionally, somatically, we're the same. And it just opens so much for us to be able to find out about each other.
yes, that's what we have in
Yeah,
common.
yeah, yeah.
Well, my friend, thank you so much for being here, hanging out with me. And I think we should like maybe do a few more segments. This is a very exciting year. We've got viewers all over the world, and for a while, this is the fourth season, and for a while, I was thinking, well, we're not growing fast enough. My daughter, who's very honest, she said, "I no, I don't know. I'm not. You're. It's too theoretical. Your podcast, She said, and she gave me great advice. She said, "Mom, I want you to just be like who you are. Like just be who you are."
Yeah.
And I said, "I thought I was," and she's like, "No, bring more of you into the work." And so I did, and we've been growing like madly, and
Wow.
we're now it's just it feels really good. So I would love to have your intel and your perspective and your questioning as part of this. So we will talk again soon, but thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Can I share my program?
Yes,
It's going live
please.
today.
Yes,
If well,
tell
there's still
us.
time. So my program is called the Comfortable Race Conversation Process, and it's a 7-week program that is comprised of 2 parts: some pre-recorded videos and homework or home play somatic exercises, and 6 practice circles where the participants meet
Yes.
and I online for 90 minutes for 6 weeks, and in a psychologically safe way, we each person explores their own racial identity. So
Wow.
everyone's learning about themselves and what they're experiencing, as opposed to learning about the other and this, you know.
Yes.
And while they're doing that, they are also exploring the process of, what's it like when I have this conversation with you?
Yes.
What
Yes.
is it like to hear this conversation? What did this memory evoke?
Yes.
And so we're in a trauma informed way. People are exploring and have the space to know, what did I know and what didn't I know? What did
Right.
I experience and what didn't I experience? With the good, the bad, the right, the wrong out of the room.
Wow. Do you still have space in the
I
course? Because
still I do. I still
okay.
have space. It goes live today, October 4th. However, the first practice circle isn't until next Friday. So it's the perfect time to join, and it's truly transformational. Like, I'm not just saying it. People go out into the world and have different conversations with the people that they love, or the people that they work with, or their teams.
Wow.
It's over and over and over again. I've had experiences from and heard stories from what people have been able to do and be
Mhm.
with after they've looked at their own self, because you got to start within,
Oh my
right?
God, that sounds delicious.
Yeah,
Hard, hard but delicious. My friend, that's
yeah,
awesome. Okay,
yeah.
we will share it. How can people reach you?
You can find me on Instagram, Natalie Haynes Consulting Inc. You can find me on LinkedIn, and I'll give you the links,
Yes.
and I'll share the link to the program. Yes.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful.
Thank you so much.
Time.
Thank you so much. Yeah, this is wonderful. I would love to come back.
Oh, excellent. Yeah. Everyone you heard her say, she's coming back. So, all right. Thank you again, my friend.
Okay, thank you.
My friends, thank you for joining me on Let's Talk, produced by Wise Mindly Inc. I hope today's conversation inspired you to take action, reflect, or embrace on a new way of thinking, on a new path. And if you enjoyed today's episode, and hopefully you did, don't forget to subscribe, share, and even leave a review. Reviews matter. They allow us to do way more than we're doing now. Let's continue the journey of growth and well-being together. Until next time, I'm Coach Shay Marville. Stay connected, stay curious, and let's keep talking.